Firstly, work with your mindset, because this is only one limiting factor in your growth, because everything is in your subconscious mind. Everything, like all your habits, traumas, and you name it, is there. Powerful woman can elevate or put down anyone. Oh, that's a good one. Big thing for me is I love elevating others. Social media is not as transparent as it used to be. This is the list that I've read. Here we go. Such a difficult book. Podcast is another thing, because I love talking, as you can see.
Welcome to the Willpower Podcast. Okay, so accountability. I kind of wanted to talk more about that. Yeah, I've had the idea of like starting a... So you were talking about some business thing like Trigger. Is that what it's called?
Tracker.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tracker, and
it's a person
just like
who pretty much just tracks on you, like checks on you with your progress.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. I've heard of another one that I'm forgetting the name of now, but it's like similar. Like you get paired up with someone and you check in on each other.
That's a big idea in masterminds. Like I'm following a lot of pretty much people who just within a couple of years, they just went from like nobody really knows about them in Russia. And now they're like top entrepreneurs, investors and stuff. And they basically, talk about this and like what they do with their business groups and masterminds. So the idea of like when you have, it's usually 10 people in one small group, and you set kind of like a declaration together that you commit to really following through, being open, being vulnerable, telling if you have any problems. Sometimes like ego can kick in and you're like, no, I'm good, and you're trying to kind of mask it and figure out on your own. But pretty much what you're getting is a feedback from people. They can read through your energy, they can read you, right? So they're like, okay, so you're not really being maybe really trustworthy here, or like you're not vulnerable here. So we can see. So like they have this declaration, and then they set goals, and usually this group works for 1 year, and they set the bigger goal, vision, how this is this aligned with like what their big dream or where they're going, and then they go like backwards, setting goals and stuff like that, and they check in, and then usually they would fly somewhere together, and meet up and do some sort of a retreat as well. So it's a pretty cool tool.
Okay, so are you involved in any similar type of accountability groups?
No, but the programs that I've hosted, pretty much I based that on it. So I was that accountability partner for them. Yes. And I was checking in with my clients, like let's say, okay, so, and usually what's the most important thing, and I think when you set goals, but people try to set like X10, right? But if you set X2 goal and you just follow those small steps, you kind of go faster than you can imagine, right? So yeah, that's what I've done. But I'm planning on getting into this type of mastermind, because it's a big commitment, right? It's like a year commitment. It's not just like I'm gonna go in and like check the water and just... So next year with And also probably finding the person who really kind of aligns with you. That's important, right? So yeah, I was doing my research so far, but yeah, I kind of picked one program that I'm really excited about, and next year they also have like the probably they do like twice a year start with groups. So yeah,
sweet. Yeah, that's always the saying is like, I forget the exact time duration, but it's like you overestimate what you can do in 3 months and you underestimate what you can do in 3 years.
Yes.
It's like,
oh yeah,
if you just
it's
do this
huge.
small stuff.
It's huge. Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of factors that can contribute to like how fast you grow, right? Like firstly, work with your mindset, because this is only one limiting factor in your growth. Like if you believe that it's very hard to achieve those goals, then it's going to be very hard for you, right? And I think that was the huge like change for me. So just see, maybe whatever I know, maybe it's not so effective for me anymore, and you need to check in with the truth and with reality and with your ego as well. Because oh, but I was doing this for so long, but maybe it's not working right now, so that's a kind of big factor. Having vision, I think that's very important, because there's a terminology, lady in red. You know this?
Say it again.
Lady in red.
Oh, yes.
Like a shiny, like in shiny objects. So I think that's the biggest factor, especially right now with, information is everywhere. Like, this is the best routine. No, this is the best routine. You need to read this book. No, this book. This program is good. That program is good. Like this podcast. And I feel like just having the vision of like, why did you even, like, first of all, why do you want to go there? Right? Like, what is the 5-year, 10-year, where you want to see yourself, right? Who you are in 10 years. And then go backwards and like, okay, set the goal, set the smaller goal, set sub goals, right? And always check in with this, always. It's almost also revisit your vision all the time. I think that's also another big factor, because it's very easy to lose that dream and motivation and inspiration with like why you even started this, this journey. And I do it for myself twice a day. In the morning, I revisit my whys, and I revisit I don't want to say a to-do list. I want to say it's an accomplishment list for the week. So I have like a system. I divide everything. This is like personal, it's not a big factor. If you want to go like further and faster, make sure you kind of have your personal life as well, hobbies, friends, friendship, community, things that you enjoy doing, maybe playing guitar, or like I play volleyball as well, right? So like I make sure that at least 2 or 3 times a week I do that. I connect with my friends in person. We go, for like a coffee date and stuff like that. And then I have, for, let's say, my projects that I'm doing right now, like key factor, not everything, because it's very easy also to kind of like, but it's a lot of things that I need to do. But there has to be one thing that if you do this one thing, it will bring you the most, like the best effect, the best result, instead of doing a lot of, small things. So like a key factor that will bring you from 0 to hero faster. Yeah. And like check in with this every day, because it's easy. People will, I don't want to say it's like on purpose, but like I had to say no to a lot of invitations. It's like, I'm sorry, no. I need to sit down, and this week is important for me, especially when like we have the kind of ups and downs, right? Like when I feel like I'm on my high horse, I'm trying to put everything aside, like just going out, or, well, I don't really go out, but like invitation to different events. And I'm like, all right, I feel this energy kicking in right now. I want to do this sprint. And then I kind of slow down, because I know I'm going to go down. It's inevitable, right? And then I slow down, and I'm like, maybe next week or in 2 weeks, depending on how we feel, I'm going to maybe slow down this part and go and meet my friends a little bit more, do some walks, just disengage from everything, just to kind of clear up your mind. So yeah, that's pretty much like what I'm doing to stay on track.
Right. But the point is that you're thinking ahead in all these things. It's all tied back to this vision that you have.
Yeah. It's always.
It's not just like whatever comes up is like, oh, maybe I'll go do that. Maybe
no,
I'll do this.
It's hard, because it's whatever comes up feels like more important than wherever you're going. And your mind can create different, like, why is it important to do this, right? Fear, like FOMO effect is, I think it's huge right now, right? So I'm in a volleyball group, and like, let's say this week I said, I only can afford, or I only want to go to twice to play volleyball, because this is a momentum that I'm feeling, and I need to, like, not that I need, I also don't like to say need, I want to accomplish this. And then somebody drops the link, like, hey, we're playing like Thursday. And like I just absorb myself. I'm like, oh, Thursday play, should I go? Should I just can't? I'm like, no, it's okay. It's not the last time you play volleyball, it's fine. So, but this week you remember what you promised, remember what the contract you like created with yourself. So yeah, it's huge to stay focused. It's huge. Especially I think it's harder than it ever, at least this is how I feel with all the, social media and do this and go there. Sometimes also feels like, oh, I'm missing out on life, like just have fun. But then I'm like, well, I'm having fun while I'm doing things. It's not that I do something that I don't enjoy. I think that's another part. There are different parts of things that, like, of the big project, like we discussed earlier, right? Like maybe editing video, it's not something fun that you like to do, so you can delegate that. But in general, the whole process for you is very enjoyable. Otherwise you probably wouldn't be doing it. So I feel like that's also ties into the vision overall.
Yeah. Do you mind sharing what your vision looks like, or how you like came up with it in the first place?
Yeah.
And then also one other, when you revisit it, are you modifying it, or is it pretty?
So the way, I guess, I don't want to say I look at it, but the way I feel about things is if I have a lot of images and visions, let's say if I'm meditating or if I have an idea and I have like a almost unpacking of this whole like vision, it's like a short movie that happens within my imagination, and I feel good about it. I'm like, yes, I want to go there. I want to do this. I never force my vision. I don't think it could be forced. I think it's like you need to know yourself. You need to really discover yourself. And I feel like, hi. And she's like, yes. And I feel like this is the big part that I also know very hard for some people, because when we are little, we have like a very huge imagination, right? Like we think that everything is possible. We think that we're like superheroes and things like that. And we dream, right? We dream a lot. And when we, growing up and we grow up, like we've been told, come down to earth, be more realistic. These are your limitations. That's why you probably will never accomplish it, or you never reach that point. And I think the vision itself, like within, our entire system just gets so muted that it's hard to envision. That's why if you ask someone like, what is your 10-year plan, or like, where do you see yourself? People like, they don't know, because they don't have it. But it's also like a muscle. You can really develop it, doing certain creative things, meditations, drawing, playing, engaging in activities that put you in the position of just like playfulness. That also helps with vision. So that's how I've done for myself. I see, like, I'm from Belarus, right? So I have Russian background, I can say, right? So the mentality is a little bit different. But I also moved here for like in 2011. So I think like I have this kind of cool mixture of both worlds. And when I got into personal development and coaching, I had my own traumas to work on. And I felt this, like when I solved that puzzle for me, I felt such a relief. I'm like, oh wow, okay. It's like, it feels like, I don't know, it feels like I accomplished something huge. And I'm like, wow, I can only imagine like how many people in this situation didn't have support and they don't know how to maybe, get around this problem or solve it. So it's been I would say, a road of discovery, how this vision gonna unfold, all together. And I feel it's never ending process. I feel if you think that this is gonna be like, this is how it's gonna be, you already limit yourself, because there are so many opportunities that can come to your, and just it will align with the overall vision. So my vision is I want to, and I'm working on this project right now, create like, it's called Transformation from Within Academy for women. Because I feel, and I guess my thinking is that women are so powerful, like everything, a powerful woman can elevate or put down anyone. And I feel like right now in this interesting dynamics between women and men, like everybody's blaming each other for things. I feel like women, if we start leading and nurturing from like our actual nature is nurture and leading from love with love, I feel like we can really create a very strong world, right? Like and put it, like make it in a better place. So, and I have all of that kind of like build up already. So that's my big vision. How it's gonna go with whether it's a podcast that I also started. I'm gonna continue next year, because just till December it just feels like everybody's trying to do and accomplish everything. So I'm like, you know what? Okay, it's okay. It's a very long marathon, so I'm not in rush. I've done retreat and it went beautifully. So that's another kind of avenue, but it's all kind of falls under the same umbrella, helping women reconnect and lead from the heart, not saying like that man owes us something, or like you have to do this for me, but also like what you bringing to the table, right? Because I feel like we all so beautiful and powerful. Yeah, and that was my kind of like, I didn't decide it with my logical mind, put it this way. I just felt like, I feel like this is my superpower, and like how women connected with me, and just within a couple hours of like consultation or something, I feel like, wow, it's just such a huge difference right now. So that's a kind of big project that also like have different streams to it. And when I think of it, let's say I'm walking, I'm very kind of visionary person. So when I walk and there's a music playing, I always see like almost like elements, like, or like how it's gonna happen. And that's for me an indication that I'm on the right path. But if something that, let's say, I'm trying to force it to happen, I'm like, yeah, probably, maybe it's not now, at least. If it's my path, then gonna come back to me. And yeah, once you kind of in this way of creation, instead of like being at war, like I need to fight for happiness and things like that, everything just aligns so perfectly, and it's actually easy. You have energy, you see your purpose, you wake up already like, let's go. Big thing for me is I love elevating others. When I started also my path, I'm like, I don't have ego. No, I don't have ego, like me. And then it's funny how like, universe presents you with the opportunities to see where you have your ego. So that's been a huge path for me, to just kind of step away from that, from the construct that my ego built as well, to kind of keep me alive. And I don't think ego is good or bad. It depends how you use it. So I found myself enjoying seeing other people happy, like when they have breakthroughs in business or in personal life and relationships, and like see their smile. I'm like, I love just bringing them up. And I feel like if we all get into that mindset that there's no competition, we're all here together to elevate each other. And that alone, that purpose alone, gives me that drive every day. Like it's almost when we were doing the grounding, right? You said about stress, and I'm like, I don't know if I actually felt stressed like lately, So yeah, that's pretty much how I do the vision for myself.
That's beautiful. Would you say you're in like life ebbs and flows, right? It always will. Would you say you're on like a peak, a good
Yeah, I feel like
lately?
now it's definitely this high wave for sure. Yeah. And I used to feel like I always have to be on this high wave. Like I'm like, yes, I solved this, like I solved the puzzle, now I got it. And and then you definitely, life brings you to like, I lost it again. And I used to see it as my, I don't know, like a bad side, or like I'm a loser again, like, okay, I feel this way. And then I saw it's like a necessary step. Like you can't have these elevated emotions all the time. You're going to burn out, because there's a lot of hormones, a lot of, physical changes also happens. You burn through a lot of energy, like your brain alone. So I see the down part as just, I know it's going to come. I know probably it's gonna, but I also try not to wait until I'm gonna crush. I'm not going super high, which I also, it took me a little bit a while to not get into, this like, because that doesn't last like for long. And now I'm kind of getting higher and I'm like, all right, that's pretty much okay. So we're going to use this fuel to go whatever I need to do to prolong it, whether it's just a day where I'm just going to relax, and allow myself not to touch anything. That's also been a learning kind of journey, whether it's just call my friends and set up like a coffee date and go and just chat with them, or just go for a longer walk, like 2-hour walk with my dog, and not even listen to anything, just like disconnect from all the noise. I usually put my headphones on just because when you're on a trail there are people talking and all kind of noises, but I just put my headphones on. It kind of isolates me from everything, and I'm just walking there. And whatever comes, it's just like filtration, and different, like obviously meditation. I have my rituals in the morning that it's like untouchable. Like if I need to do something, then I'll rather wake up earlier because I'm not missing on that, and then I know that this down part will come, but it's not going to be this, like wave of like very high and then, face to the ground. Yeah. Like, all right, now I need a week to kind of just recover, because we're human beings, so that's why we also need to take into consideration just being in the horizontal position on your couch, and maybe watching, like yesterday I'm like, you know what, I feel like just laying here watching Christmas TV, like Christmas movies, and it was beautiful. It was beautiful. I woke up like energized. So yeah, that's
okay. I need to learn how to, like, I will do that, but then I will feel like shit afterward. So I need to figure out how to like work that into my brain, that like this is a positive thing.
Well, why do you feel like shit?
It feels like I've like wasted time, and like I'm doing something that's just it feels like a bad pattern that I'm falling into. Like
the guilt?
Yes.
Okay. But it's interesting. I think it's, to me at least, it was linked to self-worth. Like, and it's mostly for yourself. Like, do I see myself worthy of kind of calling myself like a good girl or a good boy just because I've done certain things? Or just because I am, like, I'm respecting myself as well. I know that my body needs rest. My brain needs rest. Like, I think that's the bigger understanding of self-care and self-love, in a way, Like, I know I'm gonna love myself, and I'm gonna respect myself with or without what I do.
Right. Yes, I definitely, okay. I mean, that's something I'm working on. I'm not perfect at all. I think it also depends on what, well, it's a good point. So like I have things I do, like I really enjoy reading, and I think that's a great like de-stressor thing for me. It's just like I can just read and just enjoy a book. It's more when I get into these like super high stimuli, like watching YouTube or Instagram or something like that, where I just like feel bad after, and I'm like, that was just a waste, and like I like reprogram my brain just a little bit in the wrong direction by doing that. But at the same time, it doesn't need to be a conversation about like my worth, like you're saying. And I think that's probably where I've gone too far. Or something I need to look into more.
Yeah, it's like I think I had like this kind of insight. I was driving. What, I don't even remember what was it. Maybe some podcast. Well, like I watch YouTube podcasts all the time. I'm mostly watching interviews because I'm curious about the mindset. Like, interesting about the story. All the books I read is like they're non-fictional, so it's always about some sort of a productivity hack. But also, I'm trying to listen to, like, because books are very useful things to have, and you can go into the reading books and not using anything. Like we just also discussed about it. Like you can read a book, get high because you have this dopamine. Like, oh, that's a cool idea. And then when it comes to implementing it into your real life, you're like, nah. And you go to the next book and the next book. And, it's like this binging, But really, what if you read it and apply it? Read it and like reflect. How does this apply? Maybe you have friends who were like, oh, that's how at least I consume information. I'm like, ooh, that's an interesting thing. And it's not like I'm like texting someone like, hey, this is what's going to help you, but it gives me more understanding of what this person is going through. Or, oh, wow, interesting. I can use this with my clients, for instance. Like, I love this kind of scenario. And I remember like driving, and it was something about like, comparing yourself with like how like of your to-do list accomplishment, like if you have all check marks there, I'm worthy of like doing this. But what if you didn't do anything? Then are you a bad person? Are you all of a sudden like less good of the entrepreneur or businessman? Or it's just okay? Like procrastination, right? Like, maybe it gives you an idea of like, maybe this is a wrong path. If that's so hard for you to get into this thing, maybe it's not the way. Maybe there's a different way where you can get it, faster. Same goal, but different kind of approach. I think that's why like it's really important to like discover things about yourself.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because if I follow that train of thought down, it's like, oh, I'm going into a bad pattern here. And the thought is I'm just going to keep going down. And I'm never going to find it. And that could be because I'm not absolutely certain with like something that I'm doing.
But do you really think that if you allow yourself, I don't know, fall into this bad habit? First of all, habit takes like 21 days to to even just to start forming. I think it's 60 plus. So I don't think you will follow this for 21 days, right?
I'll catch it at some point. Yeah.
So you're going to like recheck with yourself, right? So it's also like, do you trust yourself?
No. That's the one that like my future self, I very much struggle to trust that he will like be able to figure things out. And that's like something I realized that probably like a year ago, where I was like, oh, that's what it is.
Who's your future self?
It's still me, but
I hope so.
It's I don't know. It's just me in the future.
But you already don't trust him.
Yeah, I just don't. I'm like not sure. I'm not sure if he's gonna pick up. Like I'm like, if something's on my mind right now, I need to make sure that I take care of it because he might not.
That's an interesting thing for you to also kind of think about it. I know exactly. I think we all have the same kind of patterns that we go like, or challenges we go through. And I'm like, well, I gotta be very grateful for me because I'm alive. I made it so far. I'm very in peace with my inner being, and like I've gotten through many challenges. But I feel like one of the major like moments was when I realized that why don't I trust myself? Why don't I trust myself that if I just loosen up a little bit here, it's not going to continue forever. That's the self-awareness, part comes from. Like, that means that this is a conflict within yourself, right? Like, this is some sort of a you that wants this, and this is another you who don't trust that you. So it's like, well, you need to marry them in a way to be in alignment with, what's going on
board.
Yeah. And just trust that, you've done so far. You're doing, as you said, your podcast comes out every episode, like every week. I think that's just showing that you're probably not one of those people who would be like, yeah, whatever. I just don't want to follow this, or like, I'm just going to drop it.
Yeah. And that one thing that's a good point that I should say is like, a part of me doesn't trust me. Like, another part of me definitely does.
Of course.
But there's just a part that sometimes is in control, sometimes is not. But and this goes into like the whole like internal family systems and like talking to the different parts and kind of showing them love and showing them that we're all on the same team here. Yeah, I don't know. There's another part of me that's like, this might actually be beneficial. Maybe not overall, but in some ways it is. Like, if you don't really trust yourself, you're going to take care of more stuff right now because you think you have to. And this isn't an argument that, like, this is a good way to be, but it can be like a justification.
It could be, yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, at least to me, it's way easier when they holding hands. Like,
Yep.
and I'm like, oh, right, so we're in agreement here.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I know that there are times where I can just relax and just stop for a second, and maybe it's for good, because sometimes it's just like some sort of a struggle to solve this problem. Also, sometimes not all ideas that come to you at this exact moment should be implemented at this exact moment. They might be just ideas that you can revisit a little bit like later, but just write it down. Like, to my vision, I have projects that probably I will start only a year from now, because I see that, okay, resources are limited right now for this, time a little bit limited, and also I need this before I start this, so I kind of revisit them and I do certain parts for this, but it's also not my priority for now, so I think it's just kind of allowing yourself to be sometimes like, playful, and maybe I have days where I call free flow, so I'm just like, okay, so we're not doing any like structured work or like the to-do list. Just today I'm gonna be very playful and not think of the thoughts that I'm, like this whole, we have like 65,000, 70,000 thoughts every day, and like almost all of them are the same. The same kind of like set of thoughts come back. And I'm like, okay, this day I'm just gonna think of some crazy ideas and just like, wow, so, and that just also like that creativity part that gives you the flexibility, and you're like, oh, wait a second, now even this project, what if I do? So it kind of gives you, I don't know, like more flow, more creativity, instead of being so rigid and like
stuck in like,
yes,
this is the to-do list.
Yeah.
And I'm on this right now.
Yeah.
And thinking that things need to go the way that, like, or things need to be done the way that they have been done in the past.
Yeah.
It's like,
oh, that's the worst thing you can do to yourself. Yeah. I'm used to be such a controlling person. Like, I need to know how it's gonna go, and only I can know how it's gonna go, and only I can know the ways, the steps. And I'm grateful for life showing me the opposite. It was hard for me to release the control, but once it's like you step on a snowboard and you just like, you're just sliding there, and it's such it's different. It's way different than trying to control everything. It's a different flow. It's like absolutely different energy, and then people show up in your life without you doing anything. And like ideas and connections all of a sudden, and then puzzles kind of I'm like, wow. And if only I knew this is possible before, I would probably change certain things way earlier, and be more in peace and alignment with everything.
Okay, can we talk about books?
Yeah.
So we were talking about a few earlier. There are a few that, like, it sounds like you've had like phases, like you read books for school, but then now it seems like you're into more of like personal development type of books.
Yes, I'm more into, there were phases. I started with, I think, brain, probably more of a subconscious mind. And in my work, certain tools that I use, like coaching tools, neurographics, I totally like an advocate for, you can't solve anything with just your conscious, because everything is in your subconscious mind. Everything. Like all your habits, traumas, and you name it, is there. And I feel like with more deep work you do, you're able to change certain patterns, but it's all about your subconscious mind. And I started with Joe Dispenza. What is I don't even remember which one was in particular order, but I read all of his books. Changing the Pattern of Being Yourself, I think one. Have you read any of those? Okay. So he talks a lot about, and he has like I would say, laboratories or like he's doing this, like he records the changes basically within his retreats if he's doing retreats. So his books kind of like started my whole journey into like personal development. And because I was like, brain is a whole universe. I'm like, wow, do you know that you're like regions that, or like in the brain, they can move, they can shift. So there's a book about brain surgeon, and he was pretty much just discussing the brain surgeries. And I'm never gonna forget the story, but like this was his patients, and she had like a tumor, and they opened up her, and she has to be conscious. Obviously, you can perform brain surgery. Like, right. Yeah,
they have to like do tests on like,
yeah.
Can you speak?
Yeah, exactly. So he tested, and I think she was an English teacher, but her native language is Spanish. So they mapped her brain where everything, like, this is a Spanish region, this is like the English, this is this. And everything was fine, but then, it came back. So they had to perform another surgery. And obviously he had the mapping, right? And once they opened her up, they start mapping and everything shifted. Now, what he saw is that the tumor was, I think, on the border with like English and Spanish, and she had to choose which one she will, like basically stay with. Mm-hmm. So she chose Spanish. And the moment they cut it out, she couldn't speak English.
She just lost it.
Yeah. Isn't it fascinating? Like, wow. Really? Like, and to me, it's like patterns, behaviors. Like, how is that? We say we're going to do something, but we don't do this. And then, we fall into these patterns. What about the trauma? Like, what happened when you, like, in early development? Are we actually, feeling and hearing? And like, are we, like, is that important for parents or for mother during pregnancy? Like, all of that. And I just went to those books, reading that. Obviously, productivity books, time management, feelings and behavior, feelings and emotions. That's another one. Because a lot of people say like, oh, this is how I feel. But that also could be learned. Like you can be a little bit cold and it will spark a specific set of feelings. Mm-hmm. And you can make your decisions based on this. But it's just the pattern that you've learned, like when you were cold or maybe something happens, It all was just like so fascinating to me. So I was just reading. Yeah, and it's kind of like I try to read fiction books, and I think that it's going to be my next, but it's my brain. I guess I also train my brain to be like this kind of like puzzle solving and like, ooh, this piece is amazing for this, Mm-hmm. So Red Rising, I think that's the book.
Did you see I have?
Oh, you have it?
I've read all of them, yeah.
Yeah. So
that's a fun one.
I started it. Couple pages. I need to revisit it. But
that one you kind of have to get past the part where they're in the mines. And
oh my god, yeah.
Really good.
I feel so because I'm like, oh, it's like the same book, Maps of Meaning. I think Jordan Peterson.
Oh yeah.
Oh, such a difficult book to read.
I tried to listen to that in like my freshman year of college, and I just couldn't.
It's like when I bought his 12 Rules of Life. Mm-hmm. I was still in Brooklyn, so it was like, 2018 probably. And I also tried reading it, and I'm like, not this time. I think it's just a book for a couple years later. Yeah. And I read it, and I loved it, And then I bought Maps of Meanings because he also talks about it, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, please get through the whining.
That's more of like a textbook, like a college book. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But yeah, 12 Rules, that's a good one. I think he just released his new one.
Yeah. So I think it was 12, then like another one.
Another 12.
Expanded, yes. Mm-hmm. And then now he came up with, he's an amazing person. Like really, I'd say, I feel like he has some inherent Russian, maybe like genetics or something, because he's really like
into the...
Yeah. Oh, like he loves it. Yeah.
Like Solzhenitsyn, and
mm-hmm.
he loves Dostoevsky.
Yeah.
Are you into sci-fi? Is that like if you have to pick fiction, or what Because you mentioned Red Rising, which is kind of like fantasy.
Yeah. It was just a book that my friend recommended me, and he actually gave it to me. So I'm like, all right,
Okay,
I have it. Yeah, you should read. I love sci-fi, but I think I love more, like, I love movies. I love watching this. I also love solving puzzles in movies, you know. Me and my friends, like, when we used to go to movies, and I would be like, all right, so this is what's gonna happen, and they're like, you ruined it. Okay, so we can leave now. I'm like, I'm sorry, but it's so obvious, you know. So, but yeah, books, I need to, not that I need, but I would love to, because it's a lot for also creativity, you know, like engaging different regions in your brain, and just get into something. I think in college we read a couple, but they were always like based on like personal story. So I'm not sure, is that fiction or non-fiction?
Yeah, I mean, technically nonfiction, but like,
okay, yeah,
I do feel like memoirs are more along the lines of fiction.
Yeah.
They read like that, but like good fiction, it's more natural to learn from. I've heard that. Like you learn
because the story,
a story,
yeah,
and like nonfiction will often try to recreate a story in some way. Like they try and tell a story.
Yeah,
but
you're
it
right.
Just has to be based in
so
reality.
what would be the number one non-fiction book that you recommend?
Non-fiction,
and then fiction.
Oh boy.
Let's go vice versa. Let's go with fiction and then
first. Okay, I will pick. I really like either Atlas Shrugged or The Fountainhead. Ayn Rand.
Atlas Shrugged His Shoulders, like something.
Atlas Shrugged. Yeah, that's the name of the book.
Oh, okay. Yes. Okay, that's gonna be the one, because it's. I feel like it's the book that it's kind of must read in a way.
Yeah. Have you read it?
No.
Okay. Yeah, it's a good one.
Uh-huh.
It's a really big one.
My friend, she actually just mentioned it a couple of days ago. She's like, you should read it.
Yeah.
So this is the.
That's a good one for nonfiction. I also did really like The Brothers Karamazov.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Uh-huh.
Okay, one I read recently that I did really like was How to Think Like a Roman Emperor.
Huh.
It's like a kind of a biography, but just like pieces of the life of Marcus Aurelius.
Okay, and, yeah.
Like,
I love them. Oh my god, where is it? Ryan Holiday.
Mm-hmm.
So he obviously into like all Stoics and stuff. And I bought a book. I listened to it on Audible, and I love this. I'm like, yes, and you can still apply all of what they say, like 100 years ago, right? Like thousands, to right now.
Yeah.
Still. And I wish people actually read, you know, more people read like Stoics and their journeys.
I totally agree. I do he has like the Daily Stoic book, which is like 365 Stoic meditations.
Oh,
so
okay.
I just keep up with that. Like every day has one.
Have you been to his store?
I have not. That I really want to. Have you been?
No, we should go. Yeah.
I genuinely would love to.
And it's not that far. I think it's an hour or something, a couple hours from here.
He does. So I've heard this. He does his podcast there, like upstairs.
Okay.
And then with most guests, he'll like take them out and just like pull off books. They're like, "Oh, you should read this one," and they just walk out with like an armful of books.
Oh, that's crazy.
That's something I love that because one of my goals is like to have like a library,
yeah,
like a big room in my house wherever I end up, just like full of books. But a bookstore is like
have pretty good library right now.
I'm working on it. It's getting there.
Now I know what if you invite me to any like a birthday or a celebration. Now I know what to bring.
Yeah, bring me a book. I'll be over the moon. Okay, did I ever say nonfiction? Oh yeah, I did. The Stoic one.
Stoic one.
Yeah. So this author, I'm blanking on his name now, but he has another book coming out, or that just came out. I think it's just How to Think Like Socrates. So I'm interested in that.
Interesting.
I'm gonna pick that up.
Ooh. Is it a big book or? No.
These ones are very readable. They're like maybe 200, 250 pages.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I like it. It's like a being in the mind, like of the, like, let's say Marcus Aurelius, right? Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, he is like a really just, it's crazy that he was a ruler and was able to like stay within himself.
Yeah.
And not go crazy with the amount of power that he had.
Yeah. Especially like that time was kind of a little bit more barbarian.
Yeah, very much. Like you could just, like as the ruler, he could just kill anyone he wanted.
Oh, yeah.
Anytime. Like
For
if he's
sure.
ever threatened, just kill him.
Yeah.
But he didn't. He somehow like wrote his meditations and lived by them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Crazy.
And it's such a good way of like reminding yourself, you know, like I guess the morals and values to live by, because it's easy to get lost. It's pretty much what we like discussed with you about like revisiting your vision. I think it's almost like the same. You're revisiting, you're writing yourself like what kind of version of me I want to be tomorrow, you know, like embodying it already now.
Yeah, I was going to say, I love what you said about movies too. So I watched a movie with my girlfriend I think it was last weekend. It was called Love Hard. It was like a Christmas movie on Netflix. And so predictable. Like,
What was it about?
It's about this girl and she gets catfished by this guy. So
it's with Nina Dobrev?
maybe, I don't know.
Love Hard. Okay, you know
Could
what? I need to see it.
Maybe I shouldn't tell you too much about it then, if you're going to watch.
I'm pretty much sure I watched that.
Okay. If anyone's going to listen or watch the movie, don't listen to this. But yeah,
With Nina Dobrev.
Okay, so you've seen it.
Yeah, from what do you call it? Vampire Diaries.
Sure. I don't watch anything.
Okay, cool. Yes. Yeah, I watched this movie the moment it came out. So, yeah, it's very predictable. I mean, all of them very predictable. If you watch any Netflix romance movie, they're all kind of like the same. You know, it's going to be a girl who like somehow ended up being like cheated on, or she doesn't have a boyfriend, and then there's going to be some sort of a weird like, or there's going to be a friend pretty much, and she would be chasing someone, and then she's like, oh my god, but my friend was here all the time, I really love him, you know. Yeah, I actually watched yesterday the movie also on Netflix. That one had certain turns that I'm like, what? Like, what? But in the end I'm like, oh, please appear there. I don't want to tell you, but like I'll tell you the name of it. Really cool. And I think that's we also need those movies where you're like, it's just like that kind of romantic thing where you're like, oh yeah.
Yeah, just like, okay, that's what was supposed to happen. It's good.
Yeah.
It's like comforting.
Yeah.
It's very comforting.
So what was about this Love Hard?
It was just so predictable. Every single thing I would say it ahead of time, and then it would happen. And I know that's like the worst.
Your girlfriend probably was like,
she's like, stop. Yes.
Yeah, just leave, please. Like, okay, I'll watch it myself.
Yeah, it's not fun to watch with me, but you could just tell. You know what's gonna happen. But I love movies where you don't, or where like you really have to work to try and figure that out.
That's interesting. Okay, so did it bother you, or like, not? I don't want to say trigger you, but like annoyed you that you like, oh, this movie is so predictable.
I don't know what it was. I don't know if I was annoyed. Maybe I just felt like good about myself. Like, oh, I figured it out. I don't know. Maybe I was a little bit annoyed that it was so simple.
Mm-hmm. You know what's funny?
Yeah.
So the things that trigger us is sometimes things that we don't allow ourselves to do. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, like what I also realized for myself is that I used to overcomplicate things so badly that in the end I just end up not doing it because it seems so like big and hard, where it's like, wait a second, how can I make it simpler? Like dumb simple. Mm-hmm. And I feel like with a lot of high achievers and entrepreneurs, we like to make things as difficult as possible, you know, as when so you could feel good about yourself that you solved this huge puzzle, instead of like, well, maybe if this as simple as this, and you're gonna grow faster, you know, catch the momentum there. Just go. There's a phase when you start business, you just need to like mess up a lot of things, but you need to start the movement, and then you're gonna adjust. Mm-hmm. You know, so that's why I asked you, like, interesting.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like doing the simpler thing is often better, But yeah, there's something about maybe wanting to prove myself that is coming up. But yeah, I love that idea of like when something bothers you, that it's probably like a part of yourself that you haven't accepted.
Otherwise you wouldn't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like with people, they're your mirrors, right? Like if like somebody is like pissing you off for some reason, you're like, like for sure it's in you. Otherwise you wouldn't even notice that. You know, like one way or another, you're either doing it or you're not allowing yourself to do that. You know, like how, oh my God, like this girl, she's getting millions, and like why people even watching her, like 2 million plus, you know, like followers, for instance, right? Like I kind of maybe used to think this way, like what is she accomplished to receive all of that, right? And then when I kind of started digging deeper and like, well, maybe because I wanted the same, and I'm just like thinking, well, how is that she's so dumb and I'm so smart, you know, and she's there and I'm here. So that's kind of another part of like, well, maybe that's what you need to kind of reflect within yourself. You know, why is it happening?
No, I definitely do the same thing. Like and it's often in these things like followers, I tell myself that I don't care, but then I still find myself being jealous. And so it's like, oh, that's because I'm hiding it from myself that I do genuinely care. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and also that's another thing where it's like, it's a part of me. A part of me is like, oh, what does this guy do? Or what does this girl do that like is so good? But there's another part of me that's like happy that they're having influence
and you can just like look at them as like, well, what are they doing that maybe I'm not doing that I can start doing? You know, like what is they at? You know, what is that part? Also, let's not forget, it's also, there is an element of luck. There's an element of just posting one sort of a video and just like, you know, obviously if you only have one video and it goes viral and people come back and there's nothing, nothing there, then probably nobody will follow you. But social media is not as transparent as it used to be. I kind of, you know, was studying this very deeply, and I'm like, yeah, like some bloggers that have like a couple million followers, I've heard on like during their interviews, they're like, oh, I have like at least 1 million bots there. I'm like, well, okay, here we go. Because like, or you pay a lot of money as well, you know. Like I see social media as well right now is like, well, they want you to invest. They want you to boost reels. They want you to boost things, especially if you've done it once. Boom, that's it, you're there. Like it will slow down. Like the algorithm will slow down because it's obvious. Like they need to make money as well. You know, they need you to pay so they can show your content. At least this is how I see it, and like things that I've researched and people I've listened, like, you know, and like consultations like I purchased and like asking people what to do and like how to do it. Like, yeah, that's, you know, that's the reality. But at the same time, you can see, I know like some, I guess like coaches, they have like a couple thousand, you know, it's not like a huge following, but they business is thriving. So it really, views and followers, I don't feel like right now it kind of matters as much. Because, you know, however, how many followers you have doesn't mean you have the same amount of customers, for instance, or clients or people who buy from you. So you can have, I don't know, 150 and like all those 100 people are watching you. And your conversion right now, like if you post something, hey, I have this new, I don't know, ebook or whatever, like $5, you know, and they will buy it. Instead of like you have a couple 100,000, for instance, half of them are not really active. I had this for me, like one of the person reached out on Instagram, like, hey, we're gonna like boost your page. And I'm like, no, thank you. There's no way you can do this without just pouring a lot of like Instagram accounts that are just not active. And they're like, no, we're gonna prove you. I'm like, no, thank you. And a couple like days after, I'm like, I'm like, what happened? I see this huge like influx of new followers. I'm like, what the heck? And they're like, hey, look at what we've done. And I'm like, oh my God. So I reported them. And I had to go and manually delete like almost 3,000 people. Wow. Because I'm like, what? No, I don't need that. I don't care. Like organic paid ads, paid social media boosting, that's okay, but just like fake people, I don't need that. I don't need that. So, and I'm constantly pretty much going back and just like, I can delete some people who like just sitting there for no reason. I want like my community or people who follow me to be engaged with me rather than new people follow. And then there's a guy who followed me 10 years ago because I was fitness bikini competitor, and he's not even there anymore, but he's still kind of taking that real estate. So I'd rather delete him, like what I needed. I don't need numbers there,
Yeah, it's important to recognize where that number doesn't tell the whole story.
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
And it's like, I would, like with this, I would rather have like 100 people listen to a podcast than like 10,000 people see a clip.
Yeah. And also, what? Think of it. It was Corey Hibben. I don't know if you know this guy. He's here also like wellness health entrepreneur. So he's doing like this he calls this healthypreneur meetups.
Okay.
And we're kind of talking with him and blah, 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 and about YouTube. And I'm like, I went on his channel and I'm like, it was like 59 subscribers or something. And I'm like, and I didn't do anything on my YouTube channel up until like last year, and not consistently at least. So I started it when I was like in bikini, and then I just kind of dropped it and then started. So it wasn't really like I had no vision why would I do YouTube at that point, right? But then I kind of like, what? I love long format more because it's deeper, it's more meaningful. Like it's not that I'm trying to rush and put a lot of information into 1 minute reel and encourage people to consume that form of content, right? So, and then I'm like, oh wow, so I have, and it was a good comparison, right? Like I'm like, wow, and I have like 200 people, and I was speaking with him and I'm like, look, like I really like, no offense, I'm like, I went to your YouTube and I really thought that you have like this huge following, and he's like, oh no, like he's like, it's okay. And I'm like, that's what I thought as well when I saw like and compared it to, I'm like, wow. So it's not that I suck. It's just like I need to continue doing this. And he's like, Julia, do you know what is a room full of like 200 people? And I'm like, yeah, you're right. It's a lot. Like it's a lot. And that's what we underestimate the power of the small community, like 100 people. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's huge. If they all comment on your posts, it's 100 comments right there. Another thing is people right now, I don't know what's the reason. Is that because the swiping culture increased, in just like you just mindfully swipe? Like if I go on Instagram, and I'm very good at like not getting there and just like spending hours there, I do it for research. I do it just to see what my friends and my community doing, like, and support them as well. So if I'm there, I make sure I like everyone, I make sure I comment on posts that really like resonated with me. I make sure I support my friends, whatever they doing something, like, oh, she went to, like, I don't know, like a date, like, or like they did this, or like, hey, this, like my friend posted something new about like his project, like that's the support. I feel like right now I was listening to podcast Huberman and Estelle Perel, and I loved what she said. She said, we are so like lonely right now because we have thousands of friends on social media that creates that illusion of us being, in the community. But then what happens? Nobody can come and feed your cat. And I'm like, wow. And I was in a situation where I just moved here, so pretty much just getting to know people. And I felt very bad, like was very bad stomach pain. And I had no one to ask to go to pharmacy, and buy medication. So that's how I think it, and right now it's just like that kind of weird social media, real world social media. So I'm choosing more of a real world right now, even though during COVID, it's like, oh, so great. I don't need to go anywhere. I work from home. Amazing. You little like in your pajama. You're like, that's the best life you can ever imagine. And then we can't exist, if we're alone. Like, we need community, we need people, we need that support, we need mindless conversations, we need, as like I was like thinking, and again, back to the ego part, right? I was thinking like, oh, like I need smart, deep people to always be around. And I'm like, no, I want some dumb conversations, some absolutely just about real life, about some funny stuff that happened, funny, crazy things, not about personal development or like doing this, just reconnect, unwind. And I feel like you need to have different circles of friends. These friends are good for like having fun and maybe going out. These friends are sport friends. We hike with them. These friends are business friends. Like these friends are my like support friends. Like, and I feel like when you not putting like all your labels into one person, that's just creates a whole different like community and environment for you as well to grow and just to kind of have that balance, for yourself.
Yeah, I just listened to a podcast about the epidemic of specifically men and loneliness for men, and like even married men have like no friends.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It's like if they have a friend, it's because it's their wife's friend's husband,
yeah.
or it's their kids' parents. But a lot of guys just don't have their own friends, and it's because there isn't like
Why do you
built-in thing. So the podcast was talking about is women are better at being friends face to face, and men are shoulder to shoulder. So like we need something to be doing that we're just doing with other guys, and it is very true.
Interesting.
Like it's, you go through school and then maybe you go to a job where you have that built in, but like for a lot of guys, they don't have that thing built in to their life, and you have to like go out and find it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, then do you think whose responsibility is that? Like, why is this happening?
It's definitely like each individual's responsibility to figure that out. I think a lot of guys don't even know though. They like, you just go along with your life and you don't really realize like, oh, I'm really lonely. I don't see anyone new. I don't have any like friends. Like a lot of guys, they said when asked who their best friend was, they would pick someone from like high school. Yeah. They would pick someone who they've like known for a super long time, but that is not in their life. Like not someone they regularly see.
I totally see that. Yeah. I totally see this. Yeah. One of my friends, but it's also like responsibility comes when you are ready to face the truth, like to actually reflect. Oh, wait a second. Maybe I'm feeling this way, like down, and maybe like stressed out or anxious because I just don't have people around me. Maybe just in general, just going out. But then it becomes also scary because you're like, oh, what if they're not going to like me, or like this group going to reject me? Yeah, so I think that like after COVID, obviously people are still recovering from that kind of psychological, and mental kind of like snowball that happened. And now it's like, oh, how do I connect there? I feel like it's also, I don't know, you're a man, you can tell me, but for some guys it's very important. So like if they make a joke that it's funny and like people laugh like at it. So one of my friends, he's like, I just don't know if I'm funny. I'm like, what are you talking about? You're funny. Like, you're really funny. I always laugh at it. He's like, yeah, but like, I'm like, what do you mean but? Like, I'm a human being. So, I have sense of humor. So yes, you're funny. But it's almost like he was like, no, but I need to make sure that like guys would like these jokes. I'm like, okay, yeah, but you need to go out then and figure out, find the community. But I think there's no way of doing that unless you go and try. And you might not find those people right away, but, just kind of like being curious about it.
There's a lot of risk in it, in like making a joke that you don't know if people will like it. Same as like planning something.
Interesting. Wait. Let's go back. Why do you think it's risky?
It feels risky because like if people don't like your joke, then it feels like they've rejected you. And especially with new people where you don't know where you stand. You don't know how you fit into this group yet, and then you say something and they don't accept it. It can feel like, oh, they're like, I'm not a part of this.
Yeah. I think it's also how you take yourself.
Yeah.
You know, like you can make a joke and people like, I definitely had this. To me, like it feels like very funny, but then people like, and I'm like, okay, like, yeah, I suck at this one, but never mind. You know, like when you don't take it seriously and yourself too seriously, and you just can laugh at yourself as well. I think being that light of a human being, that really easy to be around, you know, without like being so strict about like how you should look and like what you have, like what you should bring, just being playful with people, you know. I think at one point of my life when I was working mostly on like a feminine aspect of me and like a woman, I asked myself, would I enjoy being around me? Like, would it be easy for me or would I feel heavy? And the answer was heavy, you know. So like it's like more of a like a deep thinker and like analyzer and like, oh no, but I need to do this, my to-do list is right there, you know, like what is the point of talking about this? It's a stupid topic, why would it even discuss? It's a stupid idea to go there, nothing good gonna come out, I'm not gonna gain anything from that event. And then I'm like, wow, I really feel so heavy around myself, you know. And I kind of started working on like what of those layers that I like, why, not so much of a why I put it, like, you know, who cares, just life happens, but how do I now just unpack it? Like, what is my essence? Like, where is this? Just being light and making other people, when they interact with me, feel like they had such a great time. Not being a clown, not trying to entertain them, right? But even just listening to them, even like asking some questions, you know, being a good listener, active listening, just not being so serious about certain things, you know, like not trying to gain any advantage from like this, you know, this or that, and also being there for a person. So I think that makes a huge difference when you, even with dating, right? Like it's also like that part with guys like, well, I don't know how to come up and like what to say, what is this big pickup line there. And this reel, actually, I posted this reel saying like, I'm gonna say something that you're not gonna like, but there's no magic pickup line, no magic words. It's really just about who you are and how you show up right there, and being with the person, just the real you, something along those lines. So I didn't want to post this one. I'm like, oh, that's just I don't know, such a Captain Obvious right there. And I'm like, hey, whatever. I posted it and it went crazy. Like the amount of views it got. And I'm like, wow, okay. You know, so, but it's true. Like when a guy is trying to be someone else he's not, or like, at least I can read it right away, but it just feels unnatural, right? Even if you say something that is not really funny, it's okay. Unless you're trying to pretend that it's actually funny and it, like, you know, like being that serious, like, okay, so you're not understanding my jokes or something like that, you know? So like, or being like freeze and like, wow, okay, I should really just evacuate myself right now and just delete from all social media, you know? It's okay. We make mistakes. We're human beings. It's fine, you know? And we also learn. I think like sense of humor is definitely that you can learn. It's not the boring thing.
Yeah, I think so very much so everything you're saying is true. If you can like learn to laugh with yourself, like if you make a joke, make it for yourself.
Yeah.
And if you can figure that out, which easier said than done, but yeah, then like there's no risk.
Yeah. I bring you an example. I was at the party, I think it's called Guest House here in Austin. Okay. It's like a high-end restaurant, you know, and I'm wearing this dress, beautiful, you know, like I'm getting out, and I know like a lot of guys standing there, and you know, I was like trying to do this fashion walk. Oh my god, and I trip and I almost fell down, and then obviously everybody saw it, right? Like there's no way, because there was very late and there was no cars, it's just me going there. And I just turned and I started laughing, probably like louder than like nobody laughed, like they were just like, you know, like, but I started laughing and I'm like, wow, I'm like, Julia, look at you like, come on, please, just don't do this next time, you know, like, and it's such an easy way of not to beat yourself up for certain things. So like the expectations that you have for yourself, you know, like it's good. You like be goofy sometimes, you know, it's okay. Like you don't have to be perfectly polished person.
Yeah. It's the rough edges that people like.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. And it's that part that usually people try to push away from. Like they're trying so hard not to be this part. And this part usually when they integrate that, it's their strong side. Like the strongest side they can have.
That's what people like about them. Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like you've been through, like you've done a lot in your life. What is advice that only you could give?
Only I can give? Oh, that's a good one. Oh my god, my brain just has like million quotes right now. Like, what should I say? You know, I feel like what I'm about like a purpose in pretty much work that I do and how I help people is with a purposeful life, with being, I don't want to say like probably natural, but like being yourself, right? Accepting who you are and never forget that, that's probably the one. That's how I end my videos usually. You are very important in this life and you have a mission, even though you might not see it right now, but you connect it to the bigger picture. So don't be afraid of following your heart. Don't be afraid of following your soul and your intuition. Trust yourself. Don't take it so seriously. Be playful. And know that there's no one else like you in this planet. You're very unique. And you have a very important mission on this planet. Don't disregard the gifts that your parents, this universe, God gave you. Use them. But your gifts are for other people. So be helpful in this life. And obviously learn how to open it up, how to follow it, right? Dream and create, because you're capable of everything. That's a like elevator speech.
I know. I want to go like, go do something after that. I love that. What have you had? Have you had times in your life where you were detached from that, from your mission?
Oh, of course.
And what is it that brought you back to it? Okay. Can you think of like a specific moment where you made a decision that was like
detouring me?
Yes. Or like that brought you back.
That brought me back.
I'm going down this path and I have to make like a life-changing decision, but it's because that's what I feel like I should be doing.
I feel like what brought me back wasn't so much of the awareness, or I guess up until a certain point, right? Like right now, the things that I found useful for being on track that we discussed earlier. But what brought me back to my path, or at least seeing that the path I was on wasn't necessarily the path I should be on, and not my authentic. Like we all have our place in life, right? When you're in your place, think of like you wearing a clothes that really fits you like 100%. You feel comfortable, you feel yourself, you're like, wow, it's such an amazing, everything just fits great. I'm here, like everything the way it's supposed to be. And when you're not on your place, it's like it's hard. It's almost you need to like, hustle and like things just go different direction of like you doing these things, but it just goes the opposite, and like you're pushing harder, and then it's more things happen, like there could be financial, could be relationship, could be like health get like worse or something like that, and you're like, oh my god, like it's so hard, this just that's a lot of like stress. So I guess to me it was more of that misalignment and depression mode. Like I actually love crisis, and that was crisis. I was not satisfied with, I wasn't waking up with like thank you, God. Like, I love it. You know, like with this feeling, I was like, oh my God, I don't want to get up. Like, can I just sleep more? I was snoozing my alarm all the time. I wasn't really kind of happy about my like hobbies. I wasn't really doing it much. Like, just like gym, eat healthy, come back, do like the sauna, and like, you know, this kind of like, I was doing things that kind of considered a good, healthy habits, you know, but was I really enjoying it? No, I was just doing it because like, this is what we should do, you know. I was even comparing myself to, let's say, members like men, right? And I'm like, why am I comparing myself to a man? Like, he's a man. He wants to wake up at 4 a.m. You know, good for you. Go do this. Like, he wants to sit 3 hours in cold plunge. Do like, men are different. Like, why am I doing this? Why am I like right now in this race with men? Like, whoa. So I wasn't feeling fulfilled. I wasn't feeling that I'm actually using my potential. It's like, you know, there's more to you, but it's like, you kind of like, yeah, I don't really think anybody wants that. Like, I don't really like, and it's completely your conclusion in your brain. Like, that's just your mind creates that. I wasn't like, there was no happiness, just the underlying feeling of happiness. And like, I feel right now like this kind of like, yeah, there are things that can happen. Maybe not, I don't want to say good or bad things. I want to say maybe there are challenges, right, that I would before say, oh my God, this is such a bad thing. Now I'm like, cool. Let's see how we can solve you know, like, but before it was, every day was like this, like something just not going the right direction. And I'm like, okay, that's a deep crisis. It's like a depression, you know? And I think that was actually like, all right, so you either continue doing this or you stop, reflect, and change what's happening. Like, what is going on? Maybe because you think that this job that you have right now brings you security, but it also brings you a lot of stress, disrespect. You're not feeling like you've heard there. You're not feeling that you're actually using any of your talents, gifts, skills, whatever it is. So why are you even there? Like, what are you even doing this? You know, maybe you don't have enough meaningful connections. So maybe go and find them. Maybe, well, first of all, what do you want to do? Like, what kind of people do you want to have in your life? You know, kind of, because it's, as you said before, it's easy to just roll with this. You know, I've been doing things this way. And I feel like after 30, that's like the midlife crisis. It's real and it happens because old meanings, old ways, they just stop working. And you need to create. And I really feel like we create meanings. We don't find meanings. Like, you create that meaning for yourself. Because like, we all live in our own universe. You know, I have my universe, you have your universe. I feel this about these things, you feel different about these things. So like, I feel like, oh, sun is shining so bright, you feel like, oh my God, the sun is like just so hot right now, you know. So we same world but different universes. Like, so create something that you would be very like, that you would love to visit every day and wake up to, and see where the things that may be blocking you, and treat them as just another challenge, just something that's, you know, be curious about, like, ooh, what else I can find out about myself? I can learn these things. Maybe I need people. Maybe I need to ask someone, you know, maybe probably somebody already gotten through it and I can save years, you know, and just ask for support. You will be surprised how many people would want to help you.
What does your dream life look like?
My dream life. Do we talk about materialistic or
whatever it looks
okay.
like.
So I feel and that's one thing that I also work right now. It's like thinking about money and materialism as a very spiritual way, because we live in materialistic world, you know, like, but I'm mostly probably lately dreaming about state of being, feeling, and people, rather than like having this particular car or 3-bedroom house, right? I feel like my dream life is basically where I'm a creator. Like, I'm free to create life that I want. And it involves, financial flow and expansion there. Because like freedom is very subjective, right? Like, can you say you're free? Like, what is freedom? Like freedom, like I need to come now home and like edit my videos. Is that freedom? For me, yes. For somebody, it's like, wow, okay, you editing this, or like you writing emails or stuff like that. But for me, it is freedom because it's my outlet, right? It involves help. I don't want to say helping because it sounds like some people are incapable and I'm like here coming and help them, but mostly like maybe supporting growth and nurturing this love within people's heart, elevating them, showing them that they really cool, they super unique, they have so many gifts. Just a little bit of things that we can push right there, whether it's accountability, whether it's just certain tools that, personal development tools or like coaching tools or practices that we need to implement to kind of open that up. And it's just so amazing to getting to know yourself every time from different angles. It's like, wow, whole entire universe just opened up for me, right? So the life where I support that in other people as well. My big also dream is there's only so much money you need for life, right? Like I've listened to many millionaires, billionaires, people who they're like, you know what, honestly, like this is how much you really need and all the rest is just extra. And I've learned how to live without any extra things, like without like relying on status or like fashionable trends or things like that, like really simple life. I've learned detachment because I had such a big dramatic like effects when I was moving from state to state that I have to now get rid of my beautiful bedroom that I just decorated, like, and I'm like, oh my God, like no. And I'm like, wow, that's putting me down. Then what if something a little bit more serious happens? How I'm gonna feel there? What if like, I don't know, my business something turns into like something and I'm like losing everything? I'm like, no, I need to learn that resilience right now. I was inspired by this TV show. I don't remember what it's called, but this guy went to Mexico and they were selling coconut water, I think, and it was a Mexican man and he's like, it's $1. So this host the TV show, he gives him $100 and he's like, I don't have like, this is a lot of money, just take it free. So he just gives him $100. So he comes back in a year, takes this guy, like blindfolds him, and he takes him and he puts him like in front of a house, and he takes the blindfold on, and this entire family standing there, and this guy is just like crying. I couldn't stop crying. I was like, oh my God, like I would so love to just help, because like money comes to you, you have, I don't say just give it away, because you do. So if you want to elevate others, you do need to make sure, like the level of your life is also there, and you're recovering, you have people who helping you, because like you need to pay like, salary, you need to like find, things like that, but also give back. And I feel like the more you give back, the more comes back to you. So that's another dream of mine, to have like some sort of a nonprofit also, and probably be involved in education. We discussed this whole topic in the education system, how we don't know anything after school or college at that point. We go in the world and we just no communication skills, no problem solving skills, no relationship skills, like no crisis management skills, no stress. Like you pretty much just figure it out. Like, and like here you go, you're like 35. I'm like, okay, now I'm ready. So like that kind of also very motivates me, that kind of line of work. And then I'm very open. Like whatever is mine, wherever I can contribute in wherever. And I know like people feel like sometimes it's a punishment, but I feel like universe and God, they're so nurturing us. They won't give you anything that you can handle at this exact moment. So if I get this flux of people who contacted me, then it means they need me. It means I am able to, in a way, help them, whether it's within my line of work or just as a friend or just as a connector or just as a person who they ask something. So I'm very open to expand my vision as well and my dream. Yeah. Podcast is another thing because I love talking, as you can see. We're working on one exciting project, but that's kind of staying in secret for now, because we need to find out like how we can first do market research without necessarily telling what it is. It's just for the sake of like non-biases kind of like answers for people. Yeah, so that's one. I would love to have a house for sure. Like my personal office and studio, and I have tons of projects that also like kind of is gonna be there, but just not now. Book, it's another one that I really want to write, but it is funny that we talked about book. I don't want to do a book that is just non-fictional. I want to do both. I want to do fictional book and then implement non-fictional stuff in there as well, being creative. And maybe just finally learn a song on the guitar, learn how to put this F chord there and go to like a, I don't know, concert and perform there, like a live music. Yeah.
Incredible. Julia Darce, ladies and gentlemen. You're like super thought-provoking, I have to say. Like everything you've said, like there are numerous times I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, thank you.
So thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Really good conversation.
Thank you.
Where can people find out more about you?
It's my Instagram, Julia Darce, at Julia_Darce_. So I just separated my personal account with my more of an expert and like, I don't want to say business, but more professional account. So I want to kind of express different sides of me on my personal account. And I feel like when I had to post about a little bit more coaching tools or some expert reels, I feel like that was putting me in some sort of a box. So I'll kind of separate that. So that's going to be my personal one. I have a YouTube channel as well, also Julia Darce. So yeah, if you want to connect more of a deeper level, I have my personal thoughts just released today, actually what I do during the day, like what allows me to stay sane and aligned and in balance. It's like a 36 minutes. I try to not make it, the whole thing, but yeah, that's those two main platforms that I'm very active on.
Awesome. Well, thank you again.
Thank you.
Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.